Militaries around the world thrive on secrecy. What they can do, what they can't, and what they want the world to believe, these are often very different things. Unless a capability is openly declared or brutally tested in real combat, much of what we know about any military comes from educated guesswork. Think tanks in the free world, organizations like the Global Firepower Index, SIPRI, and JANES, do an impressive job compiling data on manpower, budgets, and technology. But even they will admit one uncomfortable truth. Paper strength does not always translate into battlefield performance. Today on globalheadwinds.com, we turn our attention to one of the most talked about and least understood militaries on the planet. China's People's Liberation Army, the PLA. By most global rankings, the PLA sits comfortably among the top 5 militaries in the world in 2025, alongside the United States, Russia, India, and South Korea. But here's the problem. Unlike its peers, the PLA operates behind an almost impenetrable wall of opacity. What we know largely comes from Chinese state disclosures and external assessments based on those disclosures. There are no transparent after-action reports, no open doctrinal debates, no battlefield footage from recent wars. And that lack of clarity becomes deeply concerning when we consider one key development. The Taiwan clock is ticking. China's President Xi Jinping has ordered the PLA, including its naval and air wings, to be ready for a potential military occupation of Taiwan by 2027. That is not a distant hypothetical future. That is tomorrow in geopolitical terms. For the United States and its European allies who support Taiwan's democratic government, understanding the real capabilities of the PLA isn't academic, it's urgent. Yet the truth is, we still know very little. So instead of asking how strong the PLA looks on paper, today we ask a more pertinent question. What would go wrong for China in a real all-out war? 3 major drawbacks stand out. The fastest way to judge a military isn't through parades or procurement numbers. It's war. Real combat reveals everything. Technology, tactics, and soldiering skills, and most importantly, leadership under pressure. The PLA's last true war was in 1979 during the brief but brutal conflict with Vietnam. That was nearly 50 years ago. Since then, generations of Chinese military leadership have risen through the ranks without a single major combat test. And history wasn't kind to China in that war either. The Vietnamese forces, fresh from decades of fighting in the United States, were battle-hardened, adaptive, and tactically superior. The PLA had struggled. Compare that to the US military, which is continuously tested since the World War II. Russia, with extensive combat experience. And India, hardened by multiple conflicts and ongoing border tensions. The PLA soldiers and generals simply do not have the same combat muscle memory, which leads us to the next problem. China has made astonishing technological strides. Stealth fighters like the Chengdu J-20, modern destroyers and submarines, aircraft carriers built at breathtaking speed. But technology without tactical mastery is like buying a supercomputer and using it as a typewriter. There were credible reports of China quietly hiring retired Royal Air Force pilots, not to build aircraft, but to learn how to fight with them. That alone tells a story. Take aircraft carriers. China has commissioned 2 carriers in just 6 years. An undeniable industrial achievement. But operating a carrier is not the same as mastering a carrier battle group. That art, the choreography of aircraft, escorts, submarines, logistics, and command, is possessed by only a handful of navies. United States, United Kingdom, France, India, and Italy. Even Russia, which technically owns a carrier, lacks deep operational expertise. China may have ships, but the institutional knowledge to fight with them effectively still is catching up. A military strength doesn't end when a soldier retires. In fact, how a nation treats its veteran directly impacts morale, recruitment, and willingness to fight. And here the PLA faces a serious problem. Unlike the US or Indian systems, PLA veterans receive poor and often uncertain pensions. While pension amounts may be decided centrally, the responsibility for paying them lies with the provincial governments. That means retired soldiers often depend on the local Communist Party officials, bureaucratic discretion, and political loyalty. The result? Frequent grievances. Mass protests by veterans, something that the Chinese state works hard to suppress. A soldier who sees yesterday's warriors neglected will inevitably wonder, what happens to me after I am done fighting? Despite these drawbacks, underestimating China would be a grave mistake. The PLA is known for out-of-box thinking. For example, repurposing civilian cargo ships as mobile missile platforms and disguising launch systems inside ordinary shipping containers. In a Taiwan conflict, a harmless-looking container ship could suddenly become a missile carrier, blurring the lines between the civilian and the military targets and creating chaos for defenders. Modern war is no longer just about soldiers and guns. It is about deception, adaptability, and strategic imagination. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh recently captured the essence of modern warfare perfectly when he said, "Nations which master the trinity of technology, strategic vision, and adaptability will move towards global leadership." China has technology, it has ambition. But whether it can bridge the gaps of experience, tactics, and morale, that remains the unanswered question. And in geopolitics, unanswered questions are often the most dangerous of all. This is globalheadwinds.com. Stay informed, stay ahead.